sick.
Yeah.
That's
Good
right.
stuff, Stu. I love to see it.
Yeah.
I know. So
Awesome.
part of that is he's off tonight because I hear he's going to be up early tomorrow while the
stay-
Democrats are sleeping in.
Well, they're going to try to take our spot.
Early bird gets the
No.
worm.
No.
We got
That's
that
right,
prime
that's
real
right.
estate at the Boca Library and all that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're being
awesome.
crazy. That's been a fun one. We'll get into that. So, all right. So thank you, like I said, so much for joining us tonight. If you could please take a moment to please hit like, subscribe, share this episode with all of your friends, neighbors.
Did you say hi, Abby?
I did.
She did.
Oh,
It
I
was a
did,
quick hi.
yeah.
Um,
I got to make sure everything's set.
I was in the
technology-wise.
zone over there, making
Yeah.
sure we're going. And yeah, like, share, subscribe. If you would like to help us keep the lights on, and actually continue being able to bring you such breaking news and amazing content into the off season, we do have some ideas of things that we want to help to educate our viewers about things about our community and the local governmental structures and politics and things like that. So we do have a lot of content that we would like to bring you, but in order to do that, we do need some funding to help keep our lights on. We definitely don't pay ourselves. It's really just so we
no,
can
we do not.
pay the studio fees.
I make
and-
less than I do as city commissioner doing this podcast.
which is saying a lot, or not much at all, I guess, in this case. So we could use your help if you would like to sponsor us as a business, as an individual, as a candidate, as whatever it may be. You can check us out on our website, and we will give you all the information for our different sponsorship packages and whatnot. Also, you can drop whatnot. You could drop us a Rumble rant or a YouTube super chat as well, and that goes to helping us keep the lights on.
And I would say if there's anything in particular that our audience would like an update on or want us to cover this evening, drop it in the chat.
Please do. This night, we don't have any political guests tonight. It's just us. We're going to be chatting all things early voting.
We're
And
breaking it down.
predictions, venting. We've all been working our butts off the last couple weeks. And, we're 5 days away.
Yeah. I want to give a huge shout out to our South County volunteers for the Republican Party, and I mean we have the greatest volunteers that are working our early polling sites. So I have 3 locations. I have one in East Boca, one in West Boca, and Hagen Ranch. We're seeing about 1,000 to 1,500 voters every day, and we have volunteers manning those sites from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if you haven't voted yet, please be sure to check us out. Thank your volunteers. Any early polling site that you go to and you see a Republican tent, please thank them. We don't pay our volunteers. I want to be very clear. We do not pay our volunteers. So they are out there taking time away from their families and everything else to help support our candidates. So a big shout out to all of our volunteers county-wide because they are kicking butt.
And I know for a fact that in Broward, at least, the Broward Democrats do pay their volunteers.
Yeah, Palm Beach County does too.
Because we have had some people that have been employed by the Broward Democrats in the past come to us and say, hey, we want to support you. Can you pay us? And we're like, unfortunately, we cannot pay you. We're all volunteers here.
We're not that cool.
I remember in 22, the Democrats were paying them, and then they were telling our candidates, our Republican, I'm voting for
Yeah. Yeah, that's straight up what's happening.
Yeah.
We had them come over and then they would fall asleep. And they would put their sign in front of their face. Remember that one lady at one of the libraries? I can't
Sugar
remember which
stand.
They
I
were
think it was.
volunteering for you and would fall asleep?
No, they were being paid by the Democrat candidates or campaigns. I'm not sure who was paying them, but by the Democrats to hold their signs. So they'd be sitting at the polling location holding signs. They tell us that they're voting for us, and then they would proceed to sit in their chair, put the sign over their face, and fall asleep.
They're just they're looking to make $1. That's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
It's kind of smart,
good money.
actually.
They get
Yeah.
paid $18 an hour
I know.
to just sit there.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I was like, yeah, I'm in the wrong business.
I say that all the time. I hear about people that work way less hours than I do
and make more
and make more money. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong.
doing something wrong.
I'm not complaining because I have the sweetest gig on the planet. I get paid great money. I work my own hours, and I get to do everything that I want to do. So I'm
Including
very
being
thankful.
the early voting
coordinator.
coordinator.
So wait, how many total sites does Palm Beach County have for early voting?
27.
Yeah, 26, I think it is.
Okay.
Is it 26,
I think it's
27?
27 because I think it was 24.
I think we have 28 or
It was-
29.
I don't know. We added 3 more from primary to now.
But so you're only manning 3
In South County. County-wide, we have 9 early voting sites.
that
we're
are
manning.
manned.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have 12.
You guys have, how many do you have?
28 or 29, I can't remember.
So you have a little more than us.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. I will say this too. If you haven't voted yet, definitely go out and vote, but also try to volunteer for one of your tent spots. I mean, we're
If
having a
you've never been
blast.
out there,
It's so much
if you've never been out there, especially like on the weekend or whatever, like it's so much fun just to be
So
out
much
there
fun.
supporting. Like even if you want to just support a local candidate.
Yeah, if
Like,
you want to do that.
I went out Saturday. I had Chip's shirt on. I walked for Chip for a couple hours down in Rio Vista and Fort Lauderdale in the morning. I took Chip's shirt off for a couple hours in the afternoon and walked a neighborhood for No on 4. And then I went to Emmylou Olson, put the shirt back on, and gave out literature and hung out with a couple of the candidates.
Yeah,
And
it's
it was
so
much fun.
Listen, I take my kids. I mean, we go to the Boca Library regularly anyway, and now that that's a polling location, and they know that Jessica has snacks. I'm not really sure if they, but
Thanks to the Council of Presidents.
thank you, Council of Presidents. My kids love them, and they like raid the snacks. But they also just love hanging out there. Like some of we had a family come by that had the kids that are friends with my kids, and the kids are all sitting in like a circle in the grass with their little cheerleader, and they're making up cheers and dancing to the music, and we're just having a good time. And it helps a lot that the atmosphere among the Republicans is hopeful, exciting.
Our voters are so
They're
excited
so
that
yeah.
we're
excited
there.
to vote, and they're excited to see us, and they're excited to take the guides, and they're just like we're smiling, we're having a good time. Like I had a lady today as she drove by, she like gave me like this, and then she went like this, and, I was like, oh, Democrat. And I just kept smiling and waving, and she started laughing at me, and I was like, listen, I got her to smile. Like, what are we gonna do?
I love the ones that I like start to wave and then they realize that I'm the Republican and then they just quick put their hand out.
They're like, oh shoot, they
and
saw
I
me.
And I just keep waving.
I just keep
I'm like,
waiting.
"Hi."
We had to invite yesterday. It started pouring. I mean, torrential pouring rain. And the little Democrat lady was across the little street from us, and she didn't have a tent.
Aw.
And we were like, she's just like standing there. We were like, you can come over here, like come under the tent and stay out of the rain. And she's like, no. And we were like, dude, it's like, and then it started raining even harder, and like you couldn't even see. And so she comes running across. She's just standing in the tent. She's just like standing there. So we're all just talking. We're holding on to our tent, and we're just talking like true things. And I'm like, I wonder if this is the first time this woman has heard any of the things that we're saying about what's really going on in the world. We're talking about how Kamala has no ideas and how she's this and didn't get elected and all these things.
Yeah.
And like she's just like standing there. I think she thought we were gonna like eat her or something. I don't know, but she,
No, that's Joe Biden.
yeah, right.
Eats babies.
That's Halloween party. That was so weird. Did you see that?
Oh, when he was like
He
chewing
like
on
bit
the chicken.
baby leg. So awkward and uncomfortable.
On that story, though, I thought it was almost like prophetic. You know?
Why?
Because, like, there's a storm, and
Oh,
she had to come into your
the
tent.
Oh.
The mega tent,
Mhm.
right?
Our tent is open.
Symbolic.
We converted her
I
secretly.
I haven't seen her. She wasn't there today.
Ah.
I don't know if that
I
means
like,
anything.
oh crap.
She's like, oh crap. No, there was like people are just so excited, and like the amount of young people. I don't know. Are you guys seeing that in Broward?
I've seen like so I was out there at Emmylou Olson for a couple hours Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, and then a couple more hours Sunday afternoon. And there were definitely some first-time voters, like, 18, 19 years old, super excited to be, voting for the first time, taking the red card in with them.
Yeah.
So many people walking in with the red card in their
Yeah.
hand. They were, and you see a dude with like a Make America Great Again red hat going in. It's like, yeah, I know which way you're voting, buddy.
Yeah. It's so cool. I saw a guy pull up. He was wearing a red hat, and then he was wearing a red shirt, and his red shirt said, "Calm down, snowflake. It's just a red hat." I was like, I want that hat. I mean, I said, I want that shirt. I love it.
That
They're
was so
just,
great.
I mean, like.
Well, we saw the woman dressed as garbage today. That was
Yes,
really
that was a lot of fun. So
I have a feeling
want-
we'll see a lot of that this
Yeah.
weekend.
I know. I wanted to see. I had this thought this morning. It's funny about like wearing. I was like, when I go to the tent today, I'm gonna bring a garbage bag and I'm just gonna wear it while I'm at the tent. And I ran out the door because I was running late and I forgot. Then the lady who came to relieve me was like, I was gonna bring a garbage bag and I forgot. The people who came to relieve her because I happened to be at the tent because I'd come back for something else. Said the exact same thing. Everybody had the same idea. None of us remembered to bring them, but we all had the same idea. Should wear garbage. Yeah, it was her Halloween costume, and she said 6 other ladies in her office had it also. And she works for the city of Boca, and she was like, they kept telling us take it off, and we were like, no, it doesn't say anything political on it. There's no, you can't. No. She's like, I'm over it. I don't care. Do it. I'm leaving my garbage bag on. I was like, okay.
cheapest Halloween costume ever. And epic.
And she
all
was
at the
wearing
same
like a
time.
tutu. She's like, I'm bougie garbage. I was like, well, we are in Boca. So that makes sense. It was awesome.
Bougie Boca
Bougie
garbage.
Boca garbage.
Is that a Lily Pulitzer garbage bag?
Yes, it is. No, this isn't Palm Beach.
We're in Broward, baby.
That's on the island, Nick.
The island.
I'm not into fashion, obviously, but thanks for educating me.
No problem.
Well, that's what we're here
No
for.
problem. Anytime.
Do we have anybody whose topics, anything, anybody's put anything in yet before we kind of keep rolling?
No, Janine's in the chat.
Hi,
She said,
Janine.
I think
Hi,
she
Janine.
was referencing the early voting party at the polls. Totally fun, and the voters appreciate it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
mean, those voter guides were going through
Yeah.
them like water.
Well, it's so important for us to be there because I mean, in my experience, so many voters are like, "Oh, I'm going to vote for Trump." I'm like, do you need to know who to vote down ballot? No, I'm just
Yeah.
voting for Trump. I'm like, no.
No.
I'm like, the amendments.
I'm
Yes.
like, the
And the
amendments,
judges.
the
The
judges.
local candidates.
Yeah, I'm like, don't forget to vote for
They're
Chris
nonpartisan.
Casanova. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, here's your vote. Oh, thanks, and then they come back out. Thank you so much. This was so helpful. So it's definitely such a benefit to make sure that we have people at those polls. So
And it's good that because I've had a lot of conversations with people who like didn't know about I like people who like I know who come up, they're like, well, I'm voting yes on 3. And I'm like, well, let me explain to you why you might not want to do that. And they're like, oh, I didn't know any of it. They don't tell you any of that. I'm like, no, they
No, of
do
course
not.
they don't. It's by design.
That was
I
like,
w-
yeah,
I
that's
was
why they
wearing-
put $100 million into Florida to try to.
Is it that
you know.
one? I think it's up to like 120 now.
I have no idea.
oh, it's
insane.
It's
a
a lot.
lot of money, crap ton of money.
I give the governor and his team a lot of credit. He has been going around the state nonstop for the past week and a half, doing roundtables, doing press conferences about 3 and 4, and just why it's so important to understand like what is in the amendment. What's on the ballot, that summary is not the same as what's in the amendment.
Yeah.
And we did a whole episode on all the amendments,
Yeah,
and
if
you can go back
want,
in
you can
our
go back for sure.
archives to listen to that, and we clipped it out by amendment as well. So, but there's just, it's so deceptive, and it was, both of them were written by the proponents for a reason
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, weed, and yeah, women's like rights, my body, my choice. But
No,
like when you,
a lot of it is not even that. It's a lot of Republicans see no government interference.
Yes.
And that triggers
And
people to
again-
be like, oh, we don't want government interference.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, but this case you do. We
Right.
kind of want to say,
It-
no,
it-
you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, basically, there's anybody, anytime, anywhere, any reason. It's abortion on demand. That's what 4 is. It's
Yeah.
abortion on
no
demand.
limit abortion on
No
demand.
limit.
No
Up
limit.
to the point of
no
birth.
limit.
And,
It
So
is
when you explain that to
definitely-
people, they're like, oh.
and it takes a lot of the safeguards that are in place to make sure that these abortion clinics that exist now are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and there's safeguards. It takes all of that away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it actually makes the procedures a lot more dangerous because it doesn't guarantee that a medical doctor is going to be performing the procedure.
It's just a hot mess.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story on this one, on the signs. I'll tell you my fun story. So I'm getting petty over signs because I am tired. Every election cycle, the Democrats take signs, deface signs, do all these things. And Republican candidates and Republican campaigns pay a lot of money for the signs, and we play by the rules. You're not allowed to do that. It's personal property. You're not allowed to violate it and take it and deface it and all that. And nobody ever gets in trouble for it. And we all just are like, oh, that's what the Democrats do. That's what the Democrats do. So this time I'm watching them like a hawk. And so I was on the phone the other day at the polling site, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I like look over to where like a big stack of the signs are, and I see this lady walking around with like a mallet that she's like putting their signs in the ground and fixing their signs and stuff. And I see she's got a sign under her arm, so I'm watching her to make sure she's not touching our signs because I'm getting petty. And I see she's got one under her arm. I couldn't see what it was. And then I see her turn, and I see it's a vote no on Amendment 4 sign. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what she's doing with this. So I see her fix her signs and everything, and so I'm like, I'm going. So I walk over to her. I was like, excuse me, ma'am, can I please have that sign? And she goes, oh, yeah, it fell down, and a lot of I'm looking for a stake to put it back in the ground. And I was like, yeah, I know it's windy. It's crazy. It has been very windy at
Yeah.
the site, and the signs are right in the wind tunnel. And so a lot of them are like, "Er." And I said, yeah, and I pointed to like I think it was Lori Berman sign that was like dangling by its like one post.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this one looks crazy. I'm like, but it's not my sign, so I don't want to touch it. And so she was like, oh, yeah, I'll take it. And so she takes it. And she walks away. So I go back to my tent. I was talking to the ladies, and one of them had some steaks in her car. So she's like, I'll go get it. And so she goes and she gets the metal post thing. She brings it back. So I go take it with me, and I go back over to where, like, the other side of the parking lot where the Democrats were. And I walk over, and I'm like, look, I found one. Can I please have that sign? And so she reaches for the Lori Berman sign. And I was like, no, the other one. And she goes, she pulls it out, and she's like, about to hand it to me. She goes, but this is a vote no sign. And I was like, yes, exactly. Thank you. And she like had this look on her face like crap, because you could tell she didn't want to give it to me, but what's she gonna do? Because she knows that she's not supposed to be touching the signs.
Yeah.
And so she gave me the sign, and she's all like, so I go and I put the sign. It was still there today. And today I saw her at the tent. She came over, actually introduced herself to me, and stuff. So she was not being, but I'm watching them on those signs, man. Because so it was a little fun. It did make me feel like I took a stand of being petty over signs.
I have a sign story,
Let's
too.
go. I love sign stories.
This is like... So, we had guest Andrea McGee on the show a few episodes ago, and, her cousin is running against her. I don't know if we talked a whole lot about that on the show.
I don't think we did.
Brought up a little, but
yeah,
I don't
but
think
her cousin filed against her, and so it's obviously, I think it's pretty tough. I mean, when a family member files to run against you and forces you to run a campaign, and stuff gets said, it's
It gets ugly.
yeah.
So weird.
So there's this house.
petty.
There's this
Talk about
house
petty. Sorry.
directly across from the Pompano early voting site that's under construction. It's being renovated by contract or whatever, and all of the McGees are in real estate. They're either like I think Andrea does commercial, her sister does real estate, so they know the contractor, so they got permission to put their signs in the yard. Well, the sign disappeared.
Of course it did.
So
Like a big one?
I think so, yeah.
Those are
So-
expensive. Those are like hundreds of dollars.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have to
the
buy
4x4s,
wood.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to buy the wood and the printed sign and
Yeah.
the whole thing. Hundreds of dollars.
So
like $300 or
I'm
$400.
sitting out there Sunday, late afternoon, early evening, and Andrea's sister shows up, and she called the police. She filed a police report because she needed to file the police report in order to request the security footage from the Civic Center because
Because you can see it. 'cause
of course, it's within viewing distance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't have an update on that, but
Oh,
I do
well,
know
you'll have to update on
I
this.
do
Now I
know
need to know.
that like
Inquiring minds.
ish
wanna
was
know.
getting real.
Ish was getting real. One of Bill's signs had F MAGA. With
I
like
saw
that.
his picture.
Yeah, it was him and one of Bonji's signs were next to each other, and Casello's sign. Casello's was fine, and those two had F MAGA written all over.
I thought it
them.
was so funny that they misspelled MAGA.
Wait,
Wait,
how
did
did they
they?
spell it?
I didn't even notice.
They fixed it.
How? It's an acronym. How can you misspell an acronym?
They don't know what the acronym is. They just call us MAGA. I got this lady. I'm not even gonna say names, but she's just like MAGA this and MAGA that, and I'm like, I don't think you know what MAGA means. Like, I really don't think I
You
don't
keep saying that term.
support
I do not think you know.
what it-
It does not mean what you think it means.
that movie. I know. Huh? Yes.
It was a man with 6 fingers on his right hand.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's just, I don't think they understand the words. Like they're so brainwashed.
They're so close-minded. I was actually stopped by. I had my Trump shirt on and my hat. I was going over to all of the centers, checking, all of the early tent locations.
Early tenting
Oh
locations.
my gosh.
Who provides the tents?
The RC actually did this year.
And we have red ones.
They bought the tents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They provided us regional directors with tents, tables, and chairs for our locations.
Okay.
Red tents.
Red tents.
Yes.
Yeah. So
The greatest tents. Everyone knows.
and so
He's been practicing a lot.
so I was at Walgreens and she goes, I haven't voted yet. I'm like, why not? She goes, I was thinking about waiting till day off. I'm like, no, go now.
Go right now.
I'm like, go now. She's like, okay. And then she was like, well, I have a couple of questions on amendments. Can you help me? And I'm like, I'm actually the regional director for the price. She goes, oh my God. She's like,
You're like, no, just ask me your questions.
I'm like, no, I'm just saying I can answer your
Like,
questions.
I'm qualified to answer your questions. I know what I'm talking about.
And she's like, thank you so much for everything that you do. And I literally probably talked to her in Walgreens, in the middle of Walgreens for like 20 minutes about the amendments and everything
my
that was going on.
gosh.
She was like, what about the half-cent tax? I said, we're voting no.
They have enough money.
Yeah,
That's what I tell people. I'm like, the
that's
school board has enough money. They're like, you're right. I'm like, they have a $6 billion budget.
That's what
they don't
I
need
say.
us anymore. They don't
I
need
said,
anymore.
I said, I will not give them a single dollar more until they audit that budget. So
it's funny though too, because I was wearing a Trump hat today. I have an old hat. It's a Trump 2020 hat. That's the only one I got, so I was wearing it. And so if anyone wants to send me an updated one, I'll take
I
a
want
MAGA.
the black MAGA
I
hat.
want the black MAGA hat with the gold writing, please.
Oh, Trump was wearing that one today.
That's what I want. I want the black with the gold writing and they're so pretty. I want that one. Anyway, if you sponsor our show enough, I might be able to buy one. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, so I was at Publix today, getting a sandwich, and I'm wearing my hat, and the girl's making my sandwich, and she didn't say anything, but she kept looking at it, and she's doing my thing. She's like, she just kept looking at it, and she kept looking at it, and so finally, like, she's almost done. She's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Sure." She's like, "Why are you supporting Trump?" They're so calm, and like she really wanted to know, and I was like, "That's a great question." I said, "There's a lot of reasons that I'm supporting Trump." I said, "But one of the biggest reasons is his economic plan," and I said, "He's got a great plan for getting us, out of this economic issue, situation that we're in. And I really think his plan will work because we saw it work for 4 years." I said, under Trump, we were doing well. We were doing not amazing, but we were doing much better financially than we are now. Now it's really hard. And she's like nodding her head. She's like, yeah, it's really hard. Like, and so I just think that I said, I've seen what he's done, and I think that he's going to do it again. And that's the reason I said there's a lot more, but because, I didn't want to get into too much. And, I said, and to be honest, I've listened to her. I've listened to some of her interviews, the other candidate, and there's no plan.
Yeah.
So there's
no
no plan.
substance there.
So how can I vote for someone who has no plan? I said, and she's like, yeah, he's real she's like, he's real tough. And I said, yeah, exactly. I said, I'm not looking for someone that I can sit down and have a drink with. I said, I'm looking for someone who's gonna, go sit across from Kim Jong-un and intimidate him. She's like, yeah, he's very intimidating. I was like, exactly. She's like, that's what we want. I was like, yeah. So she's just, you could see like the wheels like turning in her head. And I was like, cool, okay. Like, I don't know. It's.
I think people that aren't on our side are wondering why they're not on our side.
Yeah. I'm like, I think they don't understand. They really don't understand. Like, I watch these Democrats watch us talk to people and engage with people and have them walk by. And I think they're just, I really want to know what's going on.
It's like we're so fun and we're so energetic and we're all,
and we're beautiful.
Yeah,
I got told that by multiple people. The Republican women are the most beautiful women. And I'm like, I know, thank you.
It's like we're out there waving flags and pom-poms and
having kids dance.
Yeah. And
kids are around.
And so it's like they just, it really, people, I've probably mentioned this several times that I do party at the polls, usually the last weekend, but it has really been party at the polls every single day at every location in South County.
Someone said, like, was it yesterday or the day before, like the last hour or two, there was like a ton of people there.
Oh, yeah.
And
People get off work and go vote. Yeah.
And they're just hanging out. Yep. Everyone was just hanging out and talking and like playing music and dancing and just having a blast.
It's a party. It's a party every day from 7 to 7.
It's a 12-hour party.
I tell you what, I give the people that are there first thing in the morning all the credit in the world.
Yep,
it's
the morning people.
Yeah.
That's rough.
I know, it's so rough.
And also, think a poll worker. It's not easy.
Yes.
The poll working, it's not easy.
I got to talk to a couple of the women at Amalu over the weekend, and
it's a lot.
Yeah,
they work a lot. It's not a ton of pay. They deal with a lot.
What's great is when they're on break and they come over and hang out at our tent.
Oh, do they really? I haven't had that happen. Don't say that. They're gonna get in trouble.
I didn't say what location.
Oh, okay.
But there's a couple of them.
And it's not easy.
No.
I think that we should start pushing our representatives to.
I think we should talk about ballot and paper.
Yes, let's talk about that. Please,
let's talk about paper ballots and the
versus
the
voting on machines.
Yeah, because people get very confused.
And there's a lot of drama.
And I know that you guys have a completely different system in Palm Beach than we do for early voting.
What's your system?
They have printers at the early voting sites, and when you check in, they check your precinct and they print out your ballot.
That's how they used to do it.
And give it to you, and it's the same process as
you mark it by hand.
You mark it by hand with pens, and then you feed it through the scanner, and it goes into the ballot box.
So they used to do that.
Yeah.
The last couple of cycles, they brought in what are called the EVID, election video EVID. I guess I don't know what it stands for. Machines, which I hate using that word.
I think I know the first two are express voting.
Express voting. That's what it is. It's express voting. So express voting machines. And they've had them for a long time, and they were used for people who couldn't write. So they were like the handicap machines, so people could touch the screen.
Mhm.
And so they have them. Historically, they had them at like election day sites, one at each site, so people who needed one could use it. So I guess our supervisor of elections expanded that and brought them in because it makes the process faster and smoother and less.
You're not trying.
Yeah, I
to
think the
bubble in the
lines.
ballot.
It's easier to understand voter intent with the way that it prints out from the machine.
So let's go over what that is. So what it is. So when you go in, you sit down, they give you a piece of paper. It's like narrow like this. And at the top, it says your precinct number and your party affiliation. It says like your information at the top of this thing. And they give you the privacy sleeve and then you take it to the machine. You get to the machine, you feed it into the machine. There's a little slot and it goes in and then it pops up with all of the ballot.
Is it like a barcode on that piece of
Yes.
paper that the machine reads? Okay.
Yep.
And then it pops up with the ballot. And then because the barcode is your precinct, not anything crazy. It's just to clarify.
It's
the
not an
barcode.
identifier
It's
to
not
you.
an identifier to you. It is your there is an identifier on there so that they know that it's your ballot.
Right.
But so it can be tracked because they do track it and say that you voted.
Right.
But
It doesn't have your name on it.
no,
or
it doesn't have your
anything.
name on it. And so it pops up with your precinct choices.
Specific information.
Specific choices, and then you tap the machine. Next, tap, next, yes, no, it looks exactly like it looks like the same as like a ballot would look. And then it asks you to review your choices. It shows all of the ones that you picked. You say, yes, this is correct. And then after you say, yes, it's correct, it prints out the looking thing, spits out your paper, and on it shows all of your selections.
And if you miss something, it tells you.
Yes, if you decide not to vote for something, it'll tell you missed this. Are you sure you want to skip this?
Yeah.
Correct.
So it lets you know, hey, you missed a spot. So if you do decide you don't want to vote for something, you can say yes, but it triggers that. And so it prints out all of your choices. You then, as a responsible voter, which I did, even when I hand fill in the ballot, I always go back and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Right.
And all the bubbles look good. It's the same thing. You look through it all and you make sure all of your selections are good. And then you go over to the thing, the counter machine, the tabulator, zoop, you're done.
And if there is a mistake, you can go and you can spoil the ballot, and you can do that up to 3 times, I
Yeah.
believe.
So let's talk about what that is. That is what's called a paper ballot. For the record,
That is a paper
it is
ballot.
a paper ballot because what the difference between a machine vote and a paper vote is you have a piece of paper.
There is a physical paper trail on your vote.
Correct.
That's correct.
Not a machine that you are voting on that takes your vote and takes it somewhere else.
Mhm.
You're not sending your vote into the machine and it going somewhere. You're printing your vote on a computer
Mhm.
printer. That's so. I had this conversation with this lady. She comes over and she tells me that I need to call someone because they're not allowing people to vote on paper inside the polling state. I said, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Well, they're forcing people to vote on the machines." I said, "They didn't give you a paper ballot because you can request if you want a ballot printed, like what
A
happens in
bubble ballot.
bubble
Yeah.
ballot. That's what it's called. You can ask for one, and you have to, but you have to request it because that's not the standard that they're doing for this voting process." So she's like, "No, they're forcing people to." I'm like, "Did they not give you one?" She's like, "No, they gave me one, but I had to ask for it." I was like, "Yes, that's the protocol." No, I'm a poll worker. I'm like, "Yes, for election day because election day is the bubble.
Right.
For election day or early voting?" "Well, I've been trained for both." I'm like, "Well, then you would know that they're 2 different protocols." She kept telling me that I needed to call someone over and over and over again because they weren't allowing people. And
Sounds like an argument I got into at the meeting on Monday.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I can't wait to hear that. So no, seriously. So then she's like, "Oh, paper ballot, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Okay, so let me ask you a question. After you filled in your ballot, what did you do with it?" "I put it in the machine." "The same machine that all the other paper ballots go into?" "Yes." She's like, "Well, it could switch the votes." I'm like, "Yes, but it prints it out and you check it." "Well, people might not check it." I said, "Then maybe
Well,
they
that's
shouldn't
on
be
them.
voting."
Right.
I said, "Maybe they shouldn't be voting." She looked at me like I had 6 heads. I was like, "Oh my gosh." So, all right, I didn't mean to dominate that
Yeah.
conversation. I just wanted to explain.
No,
it all.
that's
So,
really
No,
good
that's perfect.
because-
That's perfect.
Because
if it switches votes, you want to talk about like what someone said about like the
I heard it was hogwash, that it wasn't even possible.
Oh, so maybe that's not true.
So, well, the thing of it is it is a computer, right?
Because I've heard that in West Boca, someone was saying that it was not, it kept switching the vote.
Right. So if you think about it, if you've ever used a touch screen computer, it depends on like what level and that you bring your finger in. So if you bring it from the bottom, the first thing that it's going to kind of lock up is the bottom one. If you bring it from the top, it's going to kind of click on that first one. And then you can change it. So like if it does click that first one, you just click the second one or vice versa or whatever. So it's like they're still machines, they're still touch screens. So it's like is it the top of your finger? Is it the base of your finger? You know, so
Do you
it's
have
like
fat fingers, skinny fingers.
Right.
Like, what are we doing
yeah,
here?
you know, I know I can be texting on my phone and I'm like, that's not the letter that I intended
No,
to
that's not
do.
the whole word I didn't want to send. What is that?
So it's just really important to just watch and then double check.
Double check.
Most of the all of my volunteers, I try to make sure to tell them, just make sure to tell, you know, voters, check your ballot before you feed it into the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And we can all make mistakes, you know, whatever. You could, you know, think that you hit one, you know, the machines are not switching votes, in my opinion.
They can't switch votes because they're not voting machines.
Right. And it prints out.
And
so
it
you
prints it
have
out
an,
on a piece of paper.
so you have an opportunity to verify your intent. And like I said, the reason for the machine is it is easier to understand voter intent when you're dealing with so many, you know. But then if it's audited, we have the paper trail.
Because the paper ballots get scanned into the tabulator. Now this is where I do have questions on, can something happen in the tabulator? Can it be tabulated incorrectly? And that's something that is harder for us to track. So that would be where, if we're going to start questioning election integrity, that would be where the questions go. But the focus has been so much on the paper ballots that nobody's paying attention to the tabulator.
Right.
And I'm like, the
And
tabulator is where I have questions.
I'm not quite sure exactly what the standard is, but I know Palm Beach County, like a certain percentage are supposed to be like sample audited.
Yeah,
They take a they take a batch of them and just make sure. And then I know that the supervisor of elections in Palm Beach County, she oversamples. So she says all the time, like, I do way above the standard. You know, so that's a little, you know, that's nice to know that, you know,
that
they're not
that.
just doing the bare minimum,
No.
but they do have to do that to verify that there's no issues.
Mhm.
I actually have a question on this. So, do you know when they look at the sample batches? Because like if they just say, all right, it's, you know, everyone's focused on the presidential, so I'll use that as an example. All right, one to Trump, one to Harris, or whatever. Are they able to validate who voted for who? Because, you know, I see these barcodes on there, and not to reveal too much about my vocation, but like, it's possible if the barcode translate to a number, you have you know, Jessica has unique ID
So there's
for
a
your
barcode.
ballot that you cast.
Yeah,
And then you can see your selections and verify that against the paper ballot
it's a good
in
question.
theory. So
Good
that
question.
so I don't
don't
know
know.
if that's done, but the fact that there's paper ballots there, you can just
That's a
count
row
it all
question.
up again.
That is a row question.
That's a row question.
Row?
Row, are you listening?
Row?
Check. Row.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
We're 4 days out.
He's
I
probably
don't
got
know.
hair on fire. No, I know he does because I keep emailing him
He
random
and his
questions.
team are probably sending all the Brecht text messages right now.
Probably sending text messages. Yeah, I had emailed him something for Bill's campaign, and he was like, it took him a few days. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I get it. I just wanted to remind you. Like, I just need some point. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand. He's like, I'm sorry. I was like, it's good. So yeah, Ro, if you're listening, that's a great question. We'll have to clip that one and send it to Ro. Everything's loud enough, right?
Mhm.
Nobody's saying anything on
No.
like any
Nope.
that where all of our sounds.
I'm looking at the levels here, and
Okay, I
We're-
just feel
we're
like
pretty
I'm
good.
quieter in my
Stu
head.
said
Well, I
that
did
he's
turn you
watching at
down.
home and we sound great.
Okay, thanks, Stu. Stu has FOMO now.
Yep. He's nah, he's playing his game. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. So I would say that if you particularly want to vote using a pen on paper, go for it. But also at the same time, don't think that if you don't do that, your vote is not being. Just check your ballot. It's a
Yeah.
paper ballot,
Yeah.
and that's I'm so glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that is a doozy of a question, and I cannot tell you how many times I've had to explain this to people, and then they're insisting. No,
Yep.
I'm like, That was my main thing. What do you do with it? Well, I didn't want to vote on the skinny one. I wanted to vote on a wide one.
What?
Well, because like a regular paper ballot is like this big,
Yeah.
and the ones for the EV are this big.
Okay, I gotcha.
So she was like,
size matters. Like,
I came out of nowhere.
We're getting slap happy at the end of election season
Oh my
here.
gosh, I'm not even
I'm
kidding.
so
like,
tired. I couldn't even tell you.
it's so
I'm doing like
loopy.
14-hour days.
I know. I'm so loopy. My brain, and like even if I'm not physically working, my brain is going tick 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 tick.
And poor
tick, tick, tick,
Janine.
tick, tick, tick,
Janine
tick,
is
tick.
doing data, and she's doing an amazing job. She is
Shout
on
out
it.
Janine.
Yes.
Maybe Janine would know that question. No, I don't
See
know.
if she's in the
Oh,
chat.
Maybe.
She's
Janine,
in
if
the.
you
I
know.
mean, she was in the chat. We've got
She probably got
quite a
pulled
few
away.
people.
She's probably doing data. We're figuring out her early voting schedule for tomorrow. I'm telling you, like, I would strongly suggest if you have not volunteered that you volunteer at least. If you can't do this time, then think about for 26 if
Yeah.
we have an election in the country.
We will.
I hope so, Abby.
We will.
I'm actually very excited for 26. I really am excited.
I
think
it's
it's
gonna
gonna be-
lit in Florida.
I think it's going to be exciting to see where the next direction from DeSantis goes.
yeah.
So
I don't disagree.
I think it's going to be.
I can't wait for
I
the primaries. The primaries
Yeah.
are going to be cuckoo bananas.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be part of that
So
process.
if you would like to be part of that process with us, you need to help us keep our lights on. So just putting that out there.
I think we have like 4 people that have announced that they're running for governor in 26.
Mhm.
So that's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Let's
going to be all hands on deck.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's just on our side.
It's just on our side.
The Democrats are going to have probably. I wonder
At
if
least
Nikki
2.
Fried is going to run again. Who's the other one? Jared and you? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm pretty sure.
oh,
I'm
oh,
pretty
oh
su-
yeah. Don't say.
Yeah.
Don't out anybody. It's
Yeah.
all speculation at this point. Nobody's made any formal announcements. Everyone's
Yeah.
waiting for this cycle. I'm sure
Yeah.
by like December we're gonna start seeing formal announcements
Yeah.
because it's now in vogue to campaign for 2 years.
2 years.
I'll tell
That's
you
what I'm
man.
noticing.
I
Every
can't-
cycle is
I
2
don't
years
know that I
long.
can do another 2-year cycle, guys. I just really am not sure if we could do like a campaign for 2 years.
Yeah.
We
Right.
can talk about it, but not campaign.
Right. That's what I've realized. I'm like campaigning it. Like I love it from a party
For the
level.
birds.
I love it from a party level. Yeah, it's so much fun from a party level.
Mhm.
From a campaign standpoint, it
Mhm.
is nerve wracking.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is.
I
it's rough.
I know how I was when I campaigned in 22, and it was like you can't ever switch it off. You're
No.
always
Constantly.
You're always worrying like I got to be doing more. I got to be talking to more people. I got to be doing more
Oh,
events. I got-
well, that's why I didn't run for city council this year because I was like, this is stressful.
yeah.
Like I would lay,
So
when I
stressful.
was like in that 3-month period of running for city council, I would lay in bed at night and be like, okay, I only knocked on like this many doors.
Yeah.
today. I need to go knock on many more doors tomorrow. I need to do this. I need to be doing this. Oh, maybe I should do that. Oh, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this.
It's never enough, and it
Yeah.
never stops.
Nope. Not until election day.
Nope.
She has those conversations with me too. And I have a tough time keeping up.
He has no idea. He's just like, yes, dear. Yep. Let's do that. That sounds like a
This
great
and-
idea. Go to
this and
sleep.
that. Yeah, this and that. This and that.
Go to sleep. All right, let's talk some numbers.
Yeah.
Abs.
Okay. We'll start with Broward.
Redheaded stepchild. No, I'm just kidding.
I will have you know that Republicans are outpacing the Democrats.
In.
Well,
Yay! Sorry.
That was a little
So-
delayed.
Hang on. Oh shoot.
keep in mind that Democrats outnumber Republicans in Broward County 2-1.
Okay.
They came into early voting. Well, I don't know where they came in early voting, but they definitely had way more vote by mail ballots coming in early voting than Republicans. Probably at least
Sorry.
2-1, if not more. Now, but they're not keeping pace with the proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the early voting, especially because the Republicans are at about 95,000 early voted.
Wow.
About 43,000 vote by mail ballots for a total of just under 139,000 total votes, which is over 50% of the registered Republicans in the county. There's about 270,000 registered
Over
Republicans.
50%.
Over 50%
really
of the
good.
Republicans in Broward County have already voted at this point, with 3 days of early voting left and election day.
That's really good. Do we have 3 days? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, 3
Yeah.
days.
Democrats are not at 50% yet because they're at
In early voting or in votes?
Total.
Total.
they've had 260,500 people vote, and they've got 515,000 registered Democrats in the county.
Wow.
500,000 registered Democrats.
Wow.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, and we were talking about this before the show started, there's over 300,000 no party affiliation voters in Broward County. So they they
How many of them have voted?
So about 50,000 vote by mail and 76,000 early voting for about 125,000.
What's percentage?
It's less than half, right? No, it's a little more.
I don't know. I'm not that good at math. I'm just
125,000
tired.
would be half of 350, right?
But there are only 10,000 ballots less than the Republicans. That's amazing.
That's crazy.
A lot of people stay in PA because of their jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
They don't want to get bothered by the parties.
Yeah.
I don't
Right?
know why they wouldn't.
It'll just-
No, they get bombarded by all the parties.
It'll be interesting
That's
to
true.
see.
Everyone's chasing that NPA vote.
It'll be interesting to see how the NPAs break in Broward because they will decide some really big races.
Yeah.
For instance,
Let's go.
southwest part of the county, my friend and CD25 Chris Eddy, from all reports that I'm getting, he's just blowing it out of the water down there.
That's
You know, when the 20-year incumbent is out at the polls every single day campaigning, she is scared.
Mm-hmm.
If he flips that seat,
Oh my God!
I'm telling you, like, I lived in that district for 3 years.
she's horrible.
It was the 3 most depressing years of my life. When I lived in the apartment in Fort Lauderdale, I was in the old I think it was CD20, whatever Allen West district was.
Alan West.
Yeah, you remember when Allen
Yeah,
West?
yeah.
Before Deutsch.
Before Deutsch. Yep.
Yeah. I was in the part of Fort Lauderdale in the apartment that was Allen West district. When I bought my first house in Fort Lauderdale, I literally moved across the train tracks to west of Andrews, just south of downtown, and that was part of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's district. So I moved like literally a mile, and I moved congressional district. So the 3 years that I lived in that house in Fort Lauderdale, I was in her district, and that was during the Tea Party era. And there were a couple candidates. I know a lot of people in Broward that have been around Broward politics a long time. They talk about the Karen Harrington days, how she was like the best, the best candidate we had put up against Debbie since Chris Eddy. And
Until Chris Eddy.
I tell you what, I'm in his team chat, and like there's such positive people. They've got people at every single one of the early voting locations in.
I mean, he door knocked.
Amazing.
His team started last summer.
Door knocking.
They started door knocking last summer, collecting petitions for him to get on the ballot by petition as opposed to paying the fee, which they accomplished. I think the first
That's
congressional
amazing.
candidate in Broward County to do that. Saved his campaign, $10,000? But they have canvassed almost every single day since. And that man does not stop. He does events. He goes to church services. He's a sitting Weston city commissioner. So he's doing all of his city duties right now.
He's going to have to resign to run?
Yeah, I think he has to step down next month regardless. But he's got the mayor out campaigning for him at the Weston early voting
That's
site.
Amazing. Listen,
And-
if we
and-
take downtown, that is a titan.
That is a what?
Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a titan. Like a
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Like a
she is a
mega
city of Weston resident too.
what do I need to tell me? Oh, really?
She lives in Weston.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, no, I mean, the majority of the early voting sites in the southwest part of the county are majority, like, Republicans are outpacing the Democrats at the locations,
Mhm.
except for, like, maybe 2. So,
It's exciting.
and I'm hearing a lot of reports that, Democrats are coming to the polls saying, I'm voting straight Democrat except for you. I'm voting, for the first time in my life, I'm voting for a Republican because 20 years is long enough. Like, what has she done in 20
Wow.
years?
Wow.
NPAs are saying they're voting for Chris Eddy. So, we tend to focus on the local races here, but I've been backing Chris Eddy since last year. I think he is truly one that has come up through the system. Like we're always talking about, we gotta strengthen our farm leagues. We got to get good people into local office so we can matriculate them up through the higher seats. And he is proof that it works, and that's what we got to do. He is a great candidate. He's got so many feathers in his cap as far as his resume, and I'm excited to see what happens Tuesday night, because I tell you what, the screams of the that
the
meme?
dying no! Did you guys see
It
the
will be
meme of her in the back?
countrywide.
Did you see her in the back of
the garbage truck. So I mean, about at least a third of the early voting sites are majority Republican. Like the majority Republican
and
votes.
there's Democrats. I mean, we were door knocking. Bill and I were door knocking the other day, and we knocked on a door of 2 Democrats, and they opened the door, and he's like, "We already voted," because I guess their vote hadn't been processed to pull off our rolls yet. And he's like, "We already voted, and we voted Republican." We were like, "Okay,
I think the economy is the issue this year, and I think a lot of people are just sick of paying so much.
Is just a terrible candidate.
She is terrible.
Like, I think people realize that. Like, a lot of people are like, "Ooh."
Oh yeah,
the silent majority. It's like, the mainstream media can only do so much.
They are trying.
Oh yeah,
trying hard.
Yeah.
Garbage.
And I really think
they're garbage.
I really think that people like our age are realizing that it's like it's next man up. Like, we're the ones that actually have to step up and really make a difference this election, because it's like, this is Gen X government, like we are the Elon Musk and
I'm a millennial, but that's okay. I'll take it.
Well, you're on the cusp.
I'm a Y. I'm Gen Y.
You're barely.
Yeah.
You're barely, right?
I identify as Gen X.
Yeah.
I identify as Gen Y. Wait, are you a millennial?
81. It's kind of the cusp.
It's the cusp, yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, but Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, RFK.
J.D. Vance is 40.
Yeah.
40.
I'm like, this is Tulsi Gabbard. I'm like, if I could pick anybody in my generation to like go up against this mad machine that's become our government, that's basically corporate run now, these are the people that I would want, on that team to be able to be that force.
Have you guys watched any of the Charlie Kirk circuit of the colleges?
I've seen limited clips.
So,
but
that's what it's all clipped, which is great, because I can listen to like 10 minutes, because that's as much as I can take of the liberal kook bananas.
Millennial and Gen Z, they have a very limited attention span. Give me Joe Rogan every day.
Oh no, I'll listen to Joe Rogan. I know, but I'm saying of the people that talk to him, I can only take like one person. Like, I couldn't listen to a steady stream of those people. That's what I'm saying. I listen to one, him beat down their argument, and I'm like, okay, that's enough.
I'm like,
that's
some
enough
of
for me.
those kids, I'm like, they just need to be spanked.
They need to be stanked, and their credit card needs to be taken away.
They did not get enough discipline as a child.
No.
Most of them are
participation trophy.
Dumb. Oh my gosh. Some of them are smart, and you can tell the smart ones, like the way they articulate, but they're still like brainwashed, but at least they can articulate. Some of them can't even articulate like sentences. And I'm like, what are you doing?
They're unburdened by what has been.
They are unburdened by what has been way too much. But it's been really cool to see, because he's partnered with Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
And Tulsi Gabbard's been out with him, and I saw one with Rob Schneider.
Yes.
Was there with him, and I was like, this is
a
brilliant. You can do it. This is a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
And he goes and he talks to him, because it's not just for that person, it's for everyone else. He's like, I just am going to come listen and see what he has to say.
Yeah.
And I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of Gen Z first time voters, maybe second time, but still like very, very young voters have come through the site that I have been at, and they are so excited to vote for Trump. Like, they cannot wait. They come out with their stickers, and they're like, yeah. They're like, these young men, a lot of young men are just like, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. Yeah. Like, I can't, like, the country's like, I have no future.
Yeah. Well, this is the first generation that's worse off than their parents. And I think that that's just something that we as Americans never thought was possible.
It's possible. Because we live in this, like,
well, we stopped creating things about a decade ago, and that production and creation is what evolves us forward. And when we stop creating, then we then become controlled, because that's just how it works. So it's like, we've got to be creating and producing our own energy. And those two things alone are huge for an economy, and regardless of what
Drill, baby, drill.
and what anybody else thinks of us, whether we're garbage or not, we're still self-sustaining.
Garbage. I identify as a deplorably weird piece of garbage. American. And apparently I'm a Nazi too. I don't know how that one works.
We should get name tags done.
I want a shirt. I was like, I wish I had like a thing to make a shirt because I want a shirt that says a deplorably weird garbage American.
That's great.
So
That's awesome.
that's what I want. So if anybody has a shirt thing, I want that. I don't know how to make shirts. It's not my thing.
That would be
But
awesome.
that's what I want.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do some. Is that what? Any other numbers, Abs?
Let me take a look. See
Before
if
we
there's
move
anything else I wanted to
Palm Beach
highlight.
County? All right.
I think that's it for me and Broward.
Okay, we probably sorry. I had to yawn for a second. All right, so our polls are an hour closed for today. So let's go by party. We'll start with our party. Of course, now my phone is freezing. Hello. Come on. All right, here we go. By party. Okay, so we have in Palm Beach County, we have 896,000 voters. So far, our turnout is at 52% overall, which I looked in 2020, our turnout was 76%. So we are on pace for that, if not better, at this point.
With 3 days and election days, 3 days and election day to go.
So you're saying at the end of 2020 election cycle, the
76% of people had voted.
final percentage of total registered. Okay.
And then with still 3 days left and election day, we are already at 52%.
And that's all party affiliations.
Yes,
Okay.
that's everyone. So now we'll break it down by party. So, ballots by party. So this is the total, not like everything, early voting and vote by mail. Democrat ballots are at 185,640. And the Republicans are at 161,000. So we are about 25,000 down, which is not much.
No.
At all.
But it's very interesting. It has been consistent 25,000 since day one that they were able to start
So
voting.
they were missing from the vote by mail?
What do you mean? That they were missing?
You said they're down by 25,000?
Yeah,
The
so we
Republicans.
started off 30,000 underneath the Dems with vote by mail.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
We're about 25,000
And now
under.
it's like we just seem to consistently stay that 25,000, which is interesting because the same thing happened in the primary, which was 10,000. So, Janine, look into that.
Janine, come on. Get on that, Janine.
I'll talk to you about that later.
And then
Janine.
the NPAs are 106,000.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot.
Which our NPAs do trend Republican.
Republican.
So it's like they're usually a wash, but maybe we can a couple points or two above. And I think based on the political climate, we may, be able to increase that percentage on the NPA
So
side.
this is just some fun stuff. Let's do party and location. Early voting party and location. So my branch, location and date. No, party and location. Thank you. So where I've been hanging for
Janine said, "Yep, call me. I got distracted by Al."
Al. Oh, Al. I'm supposed to call Al. Hi, Al. Sorry, he called me earlier today. I forgot to call him back.
At first,
Oh,
I thought
think
it
he
said it
called
got
me too,
distracted by
I was taking a
AI.
nap. Sorry, Al.
Sorry, Al. We'll call you. He's gonna get it. Like Al's phone is gonna blow up when we're done here. Like us calling him. Okay, in Boca. So my polling location where I've been like volunteering is Boca, downtown Boca Library. 5,500. So 5,567 Republicans have voted compared to 2,541 Democrats, and then just under 3,000
NPAs?
NPAs.
So more NPAs have voted than Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
So-
I mean, I talked to a lady today who came over to get a voter guide, and she's I'm an NPA.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Yeah, we've surpassed Republicans have surpassed the Democrats in early voting.
Yes.
Right.
So early voting, Republicans have voted 108,947, and Democrats for early voting 81,068.
We surpassed them by a lot.
Yeah.
And then like this is fun is Delray. Delray Republicans are outvoting the Democrats there, and it's been consistently about 800 votes more in Delray. since the beginning. So Iselle Hester is also not this one was a breakaway. First, the Republicans came out real big in Boynton, and then it slowed down a little bit. But I mean, some of these numbers are just crazy. Most early voting sites in Gardens Branch Library, 8,000 Republicans have voted.
But that's Palm Beach Gardens.
Yes, but I'm just saying, it's just a lot of people like to come through and vote.
It's what's really interesting is when you look at Hagen.
I was just looking at that
Hagen
one.
Ranch Road. So 15,378 people have voted at that location. Now, this is very interesting because 5,739 Democrats, but 5,707 Republicans.
It's almost dead even.
This early voting site is non-stop. We're talking like 30-minute waits all day long, if not more. And there are 6 to 10 Democrat volunteers out there. And I have on roughly 2 to 4 out there at a time.
So if you want to volunteer for Hagen Ranch, get your butt out.
And it's so much fun to engage with these people. It's amazing because they get so excited and we're right out front. But this one is like going to be a deciding precinct, I think, or early voting location like that. It's very interesting to watch the numbers every day of how it like one day we're up and it's literally by 5 votes that we may squeak in at that location by. So that one is a very interesting one to watch.
Spanish River Library is also Republicans are outvoting. South County Civic Center, Sugar Sand, Republicans are outvoting by all 1,700 votes.
And then you still have those hardcore Republicans that will only vote on election day.
Right.
So
Which is
we're
all
looking
well and
really
good.
It'll
well.
be interesting to see, though, that once the dust settles, how much of the Republican vote was pulled forward into early voting.
That's what I'm very curious about. And this is what I keep telling also my candidates and my candidate and people. I'm like, we can talk, we can look at data, we can market, we can do everything. But at the end of the day, we're working with people, and people will make people choices, and we
will not know how people voted until election night.
Right, and
That's
we
right.
cannot predict how they're going to vote. We cannot predict what the patterns. We can't.
And the thing that people don't understand is, Broward's a little different because Broward's still pretty blue. But Palm Beach County is purple.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that Republicans will vote for Democrats and Democrats will vote for Republicans. So we will have a lot of split tickets.
We're going
to
have a lot. I'm very curious.
And what
to see
I've
how that
realized is
plays
our
out.
voters are not stupid in Palm Beach County. A lot of our voters will do their research. They will look.
Oh, yeah. I
and
had
they
people
will
come by and say, I've already done my research. They're like, nope, I know who I'm voting for.
Yep.
Okay.
So I am so proud of our Palm Beach County voters that they're really looking to see and making sure that the best candidates are being are earning their vote. So
a lot of
that's
people
great.
are very knowledgeable.
Are you
very
guys
excited.
having any issues with fake voter guides?
Yes.
We are?
Yes.
Where are we getting those?
They're all over. We have people with tents that have different voter guides than what the Republican voter guide
And they've
is.
got Republican on them.
No, they don't say Republican.
Okay.
Are you guys having that?
Oh, yeah.
That was a big issue with the primary.
That was
too.
a big
issue with the primary, but that's also because of the candidates on the ballot in the primary as well, like the state committee.
So who are they putting on the?
So
what
it's
are they
interesting.
doing?
So there's this woman that is at the early voting site that I was at this past weekend. She's not affiliated with the county party in any way. She's a printer. She's Republican, very pro-Trump, whatever. She basically took the county party voter guide and duplicated it. The only difference is that it doesn't have the die cut for the door hanger in the top. And she's handing it out at the voting sites. But, it's still...
But is it all the same candidates?
It's all the same candidates, but
and amendments?
She's telling people that there's a certain candidate that shouldn't be on the voter guide. So she's advising them that, he shouldn't be on the voter guide, even though he is. He's on the one that she's handing out. And then also, our guide, there's 3 Pompano-specific questions on their ballot, and we're recommending that people vote yes. It's mostly cleanup stuff to conform to state statute, whatever. She's also recommending that people vote no. So, but in addition to that,
Is there a disclaimer on it? Paid
I don't
for
think
by...
No, there's not a disclaimer.
Do
That's
not
the
use
problem.
a guide that doesn't have a disclaimer on it.
Is she the ex-wife of the guy that she's saying no for?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Like a disgruntled person.
Yeah,
I think a lot of this, good leadership cuts a lot of this off at the pass. It heads it off at the pass. And the problem is that the chairman of the Broward GOP ordered less than half of the quantity of voter guides that was ordered in the November 22 elections. So,
but why?
I have no idea.
You would need more for this one.
You would think,
not less.
And we have more Republican voters.
Yeah. So he ordered less than half of the quantity of voter guides that we ordered 2 years ago for a presidential election year. And is having people ask for the guides back, which I'm all about recycling if they're done with it and they want to hand it back to us. But
I say we're conservatives, recycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But like when you start out and you're rationing your voter guides to your early voting site volunteers, to the candidates, to the victory office, to your precinct committee men and women, that's a bad look.
It's a bad look.
It's a bad look. And I think it really does allow for these fake voter guides to proliferate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And or people did like just print off like, hey, this is specific to this city and this is what's on our ballot and this is our recommendation.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't let a couple of the Republican clubs put their voter guides underneath our tent either. They were not happy. But I was just like, no, I said, I don't want to confuse anybody.
Yeah.
No, we don't
this
need to
is an
confuse
REC
voters.
tent. This has our guide and our disclaimer.
Yeah.
The only thing we should have done is put a QR code on our guide so that they could scan it and sign up for our emails.
Yeah. Good way to capture information.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what the market.
We do have yard signs at the early voting sites, all the early voting sites, with the QR code so you can scan.
We
We
have
have
them
that
too.
too, but they're not. We don't have them in front of the tent.
Really?
They're like around.
Yeah.
Because we're not supposed to have signs in the ground. It's a whole thing.
In the ground?
It's a whole thing. I
Yeah,
don't
in
wanna
the
talk
city
about
of Boca.
it. The city of Boca.
You
There's
a city
no.
ordinance cannot override for state statute.
No, you can put them in certain areas, but where our tent is, where we're
Is
capturing,
it outside the 150-foot mark?
Yes.
Yes.
They cannot override.
It's city property.
You can't override it. We had it in Deerfield, and they got overridden.
Oh, okay.
So we get to tell them to take the piss.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
You can't say that.
I can give you.
I
I can
can't?
give you
No,
the
just
state
kidding. Yes. No,
statute.
you can't.
Sorry,
Can
I
you
can
give me the
say-
state statute?
I can send you the state statute. Yeah.
Please.
Get the supervisor of elections and the city, like the city.
Because the city gave us a guide. So like where we have our tent is they're allowing us there, but I don't know if
that we're supposed to be there.
I mean, I don't want to highlight anything, but
I'm not saying
if
the
it's
location-
outside the 150-foot mark, then
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's on city
Just
property.
say
It doesn't
allegedly,
matter.
Jessica.
doesn't matter.
allegedly.
At the city of Pompano, at the Emily Wilson Civic Center, that's clearly city property. We're all over the place.
Yeah.
We got people on both sides of the building. It's all city property.
So they want it by the corner and by the entrance,
And that's it.
and that's it.
We're not supposed
Wait,
to have
I know.
stuff stuck in the ground
Outside of those areas.
outside of those areas.
Right.
You know what I would do is just wait till
Allegedly.
well, hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
This is
that's the
hypothetically
word.
is
It's a
better here.
hypothetical situation.
Yep. What you could do is make sure all the, everybody's cleaned up according to city code, and then just drop them all back in our stuff, and then you call code enforcement and say, hey, here's Florida statute, blah blah blah, right?
Maybe.
Right.
Well,
Here, I will read the state statute.
let's hear it.
The owner, operator, or lessee of the property on which a polling place or early voting site is located, or an agent or employee thereof, may not prohibit the solicitation of voters by a candidate or a candidate's designee outside of the no solicitation zone during polling hours. Hello, all. It appears that some cities are interfering with your First Amendment right to campaign or
but
promote your candidate with signs or
They're not
speech.
saying we can't be there. They're just saying we can't put signs in the ground.
It doesn't matter. That's First Amendment.
And the thing of it is that it's across the street from the library where the polling location is.
We're literally, the cone is here and our tent is here.
Because the cone, like the 150 feet, extends far enough to where you can't be on the library
Correct.
property
Correct.
and be outside of the zone.
Mhm.
Correct.
So we're on city property, not library property, even though it's all owned by the city.
I think it's still. I think you're still.
I have to check into it.
Yeah.
I mean, we only have 3 days left,
Yeah.
so I don't know
I
how
mean, we
much-
have plenty of signs.
I don't
out there.
know.
I'm not too
I get
concerned
every
about
opportunity I have to stick it to the man. I'm going to stick it to the man.
Abby,
Hey.
you are the man.
That's true. That's true.
I'm the man.
Can I say something real quick? This is one of
No.
the cool things about this podcast is, because you ladies know a lot about these things, and you're even like, it's almost like a brainstorming session
Well,
at
yeah,
times too,
because-
because you
Yeah.
have different bits of knowledge, and everyone who's watching this, listening, viewing the clips and everything, they get those gold nuggets from you as
Mhm.
well. So I think that's really valuable.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Do you have any
Janine
chance?
chimed in again, yeah.
Oh.
And I'm not 100% sure what she's referring to. Tons in North Region, they do say Republican.
Oh,
the
must
voter
be
guides?
must be the voter
Yeah.
guides. Must be the
Wait,
voter.
repeat that.
Tons in North Region, they do say Republican. Oh,
Oh.
are the fake voter guides.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a disclaimer on them, and I don't believe that there's the Republican logo, but they probably do say Republican on them.
I will say, I think the state party
they
is
have
letting
different
things
stuff?
slide for now, but I think once the election is over, they're
they have
going
two
to.
Democrats on their guide.
Oh.
Who is that?
The fake one that
Oh.
she's talking about.
I think the state party's going to crack down after the election.
I think so too.
I think they're letting everything kind of slide until the
Uh-huh.
election days pass, and then they're going to go after some of these people.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Kraken.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard because it really confuses voters. And then it's like, well, up in North County, which is really bad, and I feel so bad for, the regional directors and everything else, because it's like they're trying to be this mediator, because in North County, we actually have 2 Republican school board candidates on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have 2 Republicans that are like opposites of each other almost, and it's like they are at the same polling sites. They are,
I am so
har-
glad we don't have that drama.
harassing voters as they come out. No, vote for
Well,
me.
I
No,
mean,
vote for
that's-
me.
That's
But
kind
it's-
of how it is in Pompano.
But it's also, it's like that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
vote counts,
Yeah.
and hopefully you don't harass voters, but unless you engage with them, they may not be willing to change their mind, or may skip it altogether
Right.
because they don't know who to vote for. And what I think is going to be very interesting for our down ballot candidates is who is the undervotes.
Mhm.
I'm very interested to find
I
out where
cannot
the
wait to get
undervotes
into the
out.
data after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
see
so
what
that's
that-
going to be very
that is.
exciting, because the undervotes are when they just don't pick anybody for that race,
They leave it blank.
because they don't want to make a choice for whatever reason,
Or they don't.
they
know.
don't know.
Usually that's I've left stuff blank. 'cause
Mhm.
I
didn't know.
debated between leaving.
And doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Leaving leaving one of the
I
seats
may
on my
or may not
ballot
have done that before in the past.
I may have voted off of signs before.
between
Oh,
leaving
100%.
leaving it blank and voting for a Democrat.
Yeah.
I had to decide between leaving it blank and voting for a
I've done
Democrat.
that.
I've did that. Me too.
I left it blank.
Yeah.
But not always.
Depends on the candidate.
Depends on the candidate. There's
Because
certain
in
candidates
Palm
that I
Beach
will
County-
not vote for.
In
Yeah.
Palm Beach County, some of our Democrats really are Republicans,
Yep.
and if you are part
And
of
some
the
of our
politics,
Republicans are Democrats.
right? And if it's like you look at the politics of it in a purple county, that happens all the time.
And here's it's almost like, they say knowledge is power and innocence is bliss.
Ugh.
Like when
Ignorance
you're-
is bliss.
Ignorance is
Ugh.
bliss. That's the word. Sorry. Innocence. Ignorance
Yeah.
is bliss. Sometimes I'm like, I kind of wish I didn't know as much and I could just vote
Yep.
straight Republican or straight whatever. If you were Democrat, just vote straight. Now I know a lot of the candidates.
Yeah.
Or in one case, there's one race where I literally have never met the candidate, and that's a cause for concern because I've
Yep.
been to a billion candidate events, and this candidate has never once shown themselves, never been around. Nobody knows anything about him. He's not raised any money. He's done nothing. He paid his fee and got on the ballot, and that's it. And
Yep.
now we're telling people to vote for him. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
What level?
Clerk and comptroller.
Oh,
Yeah, never seen the candidate.
Never seen the candidate. And
That's
I've been
crazy.
to, never heard from him. He's never been on a candidate and manager's meeting. I've been to tons of candidate events. I've been to tons of Republican events, and he's never not once been there.
well, I mean that similar in Broward. I think we've talked about this particular candidate in the past. We pointed it out right after qualifying period ended.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was a progressive Bernie bro,
Yep.
squad aligned a couple years ago. Now all of a sudden he's a Republican running as a Republican on the ballot. He never approached the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
He I don't think he's done a whole lot of events. Most of his social media posts, he's promoting his business, not his candidacy. And like he initially was on our voter guide, and it's like, why are we promoting this guy? He clearly is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I'm very curious.
And that's the thing, and that's what a lot of people don't realize either, is that anybody can run for anything under whatever party that they want to be affiliated with, and not necessarily, like, there's not a channel. They don't have to go through the party to get on a voter guide or to get elected.
But just like Kamala.
He's been waiting all night to do that.
I will say this. You're right. Anybody can run as a Republican, doesn't have to go through the party. But this goes back to the fake voter guides, too. There are rules and procedures in place, and strong leadership matters.
Yes.
And a good leader is going to know the process and the procedures and know how to use them to prevent the party from propping up a candidate like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
I agree. I think we have the same problem.
If the rules don't matter, it's like, why have rules at all if you're not going to enforce them?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like with these fake voter guides, it's like, I knew people that were doing the fake voter guides during the primary. I pointed it out to them. I'm like, look, and these are my friends. I love these people dearly. I'm like, this is not a legit voter guide. There's no disclaimer on the bottom. This is illegal. You guys are going to get in trouble. You shouldn't be handing these out.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, okay, so let's talk for a minute about what the difference between a voter guide and a picks list is. So when you have a voter guide that comes from that you have a logo or a name that says Republican or Democrat, in our case, obviously Republican, on it, it has to have a disclaimer. It has to say who paid for it. It has to have certain things to it. That is different than Josie's pick list.
Yeah.
Where I say these are my personal preferred candidates that I personally am voting for or vouching for.
Like JessicaJansen.com/picks.
That. Exactly. I am not that fancy. I just have mine. Like during the primary, I just had mine on like
easier to have a website.
And I would just send people my note. And now I have them in like a picture and a screenshot of text message that I send them and stuff. So like, and I always say, this is my personal. These are who I'm voting for. This is my personal choice. This is not.
And I have a disclaimer on them.
That she's disclaimer. I say I have been sending. This is the Republican recommendation, and these are my personal choices. You decide. And I am not. And that's the difference. So there's a difference between a voter guide, an official like party affiliated, or in this case not affiliated, but posing as affiliated voter guide, and a personal picks list. If that person had written, I don't want to say any names because I'm going to get yelled at, Water Bottle John's pick list, personal pick list, no problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can be at the polling. You can be at a polling location, hand anybody anything.
Yeah.
It's okay. But then people could be like, this isn't a Republican. What am I doing with this?
Yeah.
Then anyway.
Yeah. I mean, people try to pass off voter guides as like Republican voter guides because it lends credibility and legitimacy, and they're not legitimate. And
I wonder how many of those Republicans are getting the fake Republican voter guides and being like, wait, there's a Democrat on here. Are the Republicans recommending a Democrat? That's happening.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, because actually, and again, I was involved as the treasurer of the county party after the fact with the voter guide and like who was on there, because there was the whole issue with the one Republican being promoted and then pulled off.
Mm-hmm.
We are recommending a couple NPAs and at least one Democrat for a race, a municipal, nonpartisan race, where there were no Republicans and no NPAs running in that specific race.
Did you have to do that? Did you have to vote them in through the membership to do that?
We did not.
But you should have, right?
Wait. Let's rephrase the question. Did you do that, and should you have?
We did not do that. Should we have? Probably.
Interesting.
And then I learned that no, only retained judges can be on the voter guides. No active judges running for office can be on a voter guide.
Really?
Yep.
And they can't be. They can't even be voted in through the membership.
Active judges,
like appointed judges or judges that like DeSantis appointed or whoever. Like if we're voting to retain them, they can be on the voter guide. But judges who are running like
county court judges,
yes,
they can't be on the. They can be recommended.
Yes, but not written on a voter guide. That's what we were told.
Yeah. I learned that last night.
Look,
because we had to take a judge off of one of our voter guides.
I do
because of
not
that
claim
reason.
to be an
and
expert.
I thought it was because we didn't vote her in through the
but
membership. But it's just
a blanket.
No.
Um,
But you can recommend outside of
You can
that.
verbally
But
recommend
I
it. You just can't have
believe-
it written on a guide.
I believe that rule is frequently not
Ignored.
enforced.
Of course.
But
Of
we
course.
don't. But we're Republicans, and therefore all the rules apply to us.
Yeah.
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 Sucks.
What should have been done and what has been done is definitely two different things.
Two different questions.
And to
So
be
we had to
honest with you,
rephrase.
I mean, like, I'll be a little loose tonight because my time as treasurer is coming to a close.
Wah, wah, wah.
Are
but
you not ready for chair?
I
You're not ready for re-election?
his worst nightmares. Look, I got to focus on the important stuff, and the important stuff is that I was elected to be a commissioner in the city of Lighthouse Point, and that is where I'm going to focus most of my efforts in the next 3.5 years.
I think
Awesome.
that's wise.
I can control. Well, I can't control, but I have a lot more control over, like, what happens there.
Mhm.
Herding cats is a real thing, and
And it gets exhausting. Herding
Mhm.
cats is tiring.
yeah, but unfortunately, our leadership currently can only focus on one thing at a time. So could only focus on the primaries till August 20th. Decided to hold a fundraiser in September, a massive gala dinner fundraiser. Could only focus on that until September 21st, and then turned his attentions to the November election. So a lot of this stuff was happening, not proactively, retroactively.
Reactionary.
Reactively, yes.
Reactively. I feel like that's a lot.
Well, and I think and we all have a learning curve, right? And I think is what happens is that people see these positions in leadership and then they want to just like, oh, I want to make a difference. I don't like the way that it's run, so I'm gonna.
I have all the great ideas.
But the
Right.
problem is that, like, yes, you can definitely be like that. You can have all these great new ideas, but like if you don't know the rules and you don't know the processes,
Correct.
and
Exactly.
you just try to barrel your way through.
The institutional knowledge is so important.
Yeah.
And if you haven't ran campaigns, if you're not familiar with the finance laws,
Yep.
if you're like a fish out of water. Like you just don't know. You don't know when the deadlines are.
You don't know what you
things.
don't know. And if
Exactly.
you don't listen, if you just put up a wall with the people that do know, like, you are damaging the party.
Yeah.
I feel like we're talking about my kid's school right now.
No,
It's the
we're
same-
talking about Broward County GOP.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we're having the same problem at
But,
my
like,
kid's school.
Right, but I think it applies to Palm Beach County too, and
Yeah.
it's like, and like I think everybody has good intentions.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
means well, but the thing of it
Yeah.
is that there's a history, and when there's ingrained politics,
Yeah.
whether it's Broward or Palm Beach County,
Mhm.
it's like if you don't understand how the politics work and how it flows,
Mhm.
you can get caught off guard real quick,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, like you're highlighted in a
You're
Twitter
endorsing
feed,
a candidate that was posing with Ilhan Omar and
That's bad.
a couple years
Yeah.
ago.
Or like in our case, you're getting called out by Laura Loomer in a tweet.
Who got called out?
Our chairman.
Our chairman
Well,
for Signgate. That's what I was going to talk about.
oh yes,
Signgate.
please fill me in
Yes,
on Signgate.
Signgate. So
Signgate.
Signgate,
Palm Beach County.
2024.
Signgate 2024. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
We are completely sober.
Oh. This is
I don't know. Maybe you are.
Nespresso.
Yes. All right. So, okay.
Signgate.
Signgate. So, early voting opens, and there's no Trump signs. Hardly any Trump
That's
signs.
because, okay, just for our listeners,
Yes. Well, yes. I was going to say, but go ahead.
Trump did not put any money into the
Nope.
state of Florida because it's no longer a swing state.
Mm-mm.
It is
He's
considered
got
a
it in
red
the
state.
bag.
He's got it in the bag. So if you wanted a Trump yard sign this
Big
go around,
league.
you had to pay for it.
You had to pay for it, or you had to hunt them down at our victory offices and try
Couldn't
to
you
That
do
they
that in
that.
had to
Broward?
pay for.
Could
They
you do-
paid for.
Yeah.
Right.
Our victory offices paid for them, and they didn't always have them, so you'd be there at the right time to snag one. I had two. My yard looked like a polling location.
I saw your
I'm
picture.
not even kidding, and I was missing. I put more in after that. So election day happens, but we pulled them out when the hurricane was coming.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of sitting in our garage, and we were like, all right, I need to put them back out. And I was like, I'm just gonna take it. We live in like a very quiet street. No one sees my signs, so I was like, I'll just take them and go put them at the polling locations because I feel like they'll like do more there. They'll do a little more lifting. So anyway, so election day opens, no Trump signs. Everyone losing their ever-loving minds. I'm not even kidding. You would have thought that people were not going to vote for Trump because there were no signs. Like the way people were acting. There are no Trump signs. There are no Trump.
Let me just repeat something I learned in 2022 when I ran. Signs don't vote.
I literally said to many people, I was like, listen, anybody who drove up to the polling location to come vote for Trump is not going to not walk in and vote for him because there's no signs. Like, it's not going to happen. Yes, it's morale. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it makes you feel like it's all about emotions. Signs are all about emotions.
Yeah.
But they're not going to. So everyone needs to calm down.
Be cool,
Be cool. Oh,
Breathe.
no. I was at multiple polling locations on the first day of early voting. Everyone I was at, someone would pull up and be like, there's no Trump signs. I was like, nope, there's no Trump signs. And so, oh my gosh, you would have thought. So then someone told, should we say name names? Whose tweet it is?
I don't think it matters.
Okay. So Laura Loomer posted a tweet that there were no signs and called out Kevin and saying that and then just started unloading all of the drama that has happened in Palm Beach County. And half of it's not true. I'm just going to go on record. Yeah. She stated one of the big things that stuck out to me, and we covered this on our podcasts. I think it was the fiery but mostly peaceful one. I don't remember. It was one of the episodes where we talked about this. She said that he refused to endorse Trump from the REC. Like the REC, he refused to endorse Trump as our Palm Beach County REC. For the record, he did not do that. He does not have the power to do that. That is done by the membership. The membership decided not to do that because at the time it was being discussed, we were dead heat for municipal candidates. And it would have impacted. It would have been all over the news. Palm Beach County REC.
It would have taken away from our local races.
Taken away from our local races, and it would have turned votes away. And by the way, we won a lot of those local races by not doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for the good of Palm Beach County, we as the membership chose not to do that.
And that didn't mean that we didn't support Trump.
Nope.
That didn't mean we didn't want him. You
Nope.
know, it wasn't his time to be the focus
it was not,
in our county.
It was strategy. And
Correct.
This is something that Republicans do not understand is strategy. You cannot just go in guns a-blazing, hair on fire.
You can't run a purple county like it's red.
Correct. Yeah. And that is what
you can't run a blue county like it's red. I mean, my gosh. The only reason we didn't endorse Trump as a county party is because we what's the word? Didn't have quorum. We killed quorum.
Yeah. Well, plus,
had quorum.
And not to mention the financial repercussions when you endorse during that, because you don't get the state funds down when you endorse.
Yeah, and let me tell you, they were bragging Monday night about getting those state funds, the fees.
That they were this close to not even getting.
Because they would have endorsed.
Yeah.
Strategy.
So
we did not. So this has now been a lie that has now been spun out, literal lie that he chose as the chairman to not endorse Trump, and that the party didn't endorse Trump.
And
that's not true. And this was put into a tweet. And I mean, along with a whole bunch of others, half truths, slanderous things.
She said also that he wasn't a Trump supporter, and that's not true. He is a strong,
very strong Trump supporter. Like, so she said a lot of things that were really not true. And then, of course, everyone believes, and once it's on the internet, everyone believes it. So now he called her and said, can you please not do that and take the tweet down? So now she's posting, oh, he called me and told me I need to take the tweet down.
People like her are so toxic to the party.
And that's why I said,
because they have a platform.
2 days into early voting. How is this going to help?
Yeah, it's not helping Palm Beach County.
We're trying to win here.
Yeah.
And Signgate. It's turned into Signgate.
Right. Well, now the thing is Palm Beach County, we only had one fundraiser, and that was Lincoln Day, and we did great. We raised like $1.1 million, but we didn't have any fundraisers after that. And so nothing went into our federal money, into our federal account. And in order to buy Trump signs, you needed to have federal dollars. And instead we invested into our congressional candidates the money that that we had in our federal account. Right, wrong, whatever. You know, and then the money that was left over, he did purchase signs from the Trump campaign. So, like, yes, we raised $1.1 million, but I think there was only $8,000 in our federal account. So we did.
The rest of it went into our other account, which was
state level.
So that he could. Because his focus for this campaign,
we are the local RECs.
Yes.
We focus on local candidates.
races, and so
Correct.
That's what he needed to do was
Yeah.
to
Right.
focus on our local candidates.
Now, and the strategy side of that would have been, you know, I don't want to say like if I was in charge, but
why, Jessica?
But the thing of it is that we could have drawn off of Trump way more if we would have had a little bit more money in that federal account, because then we could have gotten like Trump stickers. We could have really kind of umped that up a little bit more.
Yes,
to be that driver.
For only Republicans, because that's the thing. Like, a lot of our candidates are running very
right, and that's why we should have left. That's why the candidates should have been going after the NPAs,
and they are
right. And the party focus on the Republican ticket from Trump. Trump's the draw in, and then get people to vote down ballot by handing them a voter guide.
Yeah,
and we could have done more of that if we had a little bit more federal dollars. I'm not saying that, you know, we aren't doing that, but that's the thing is, so it's like you have $1,000, you know, $1,500, you can only buy so many signs, and then we have
signs cost money.
We have 26 early voting sites,
like, you know, on trees.
Right, we have 26 early voting sites, and then we have on election day we have over 800 precincts.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a lot of, you know, that's a lot of signs to be able to cover. And so it's like you just kind of, that's that institutional knowledge, that's the idea of how campaigns work, and to be able to work through that process and be able to use that guidance. And I think our current chairman, doing the best that he can with the knowledge and experience that he had, missed the mark on that.
This is his first election as chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Broward doesn't even have a federal PAC. Like, we can't spend a dime on federal. Like, we just never opened one up. We don't have someone to run it. Like, it was, you know,
oh my gosh, yeah.
it's crazy. You know, I referenced somebody getting into an argument with somebody Monday night at our meeting that our chairman called in the middle of early voting. And, you know, our former chairman, Tom Powers, he's been, God rest his soul, he's been in the ground for over a year now, and he is still getting blamed for stuff.
Oh,
He's still getting blamed.
that's
People
terrible.
were this crazy person that was talking to me the other night, accusing him of embezzling funds, and I'm like, do you not realize that, like, all of our records are public and you can look them up on the SOE website? Like, how do you determine that?
Ask
like,
your treasurer for a report; they'll give it to you, right?
I mean, yeah.
Oh my god!
But it's
I know
like-
I could call Jane and be like, "What?" You know, and she'd be like, "Here you go.
Here's everything.
Here you go."
It's just, you know, yeah. So he's still getting blamed for stuff,
Oh, that's
you know, a year plus after the fact. And no, I mean, like, it was in our goals to open a federal PAC so we could do that kind of stuff. And, you know, when we raise funds, you know, kind of
Split them.
split them so we could do more for the congressional candidates and whatnot. It just hasn't happened. And, you know, like, again, people don't know what they don't know. And when you don't have a federal PAC, you can't spend a dime on federal campaigns.
Yep.
And that includes purchasing Trump signs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I told the membership Monday night in my final treasurer's report, this campaign cycle, that, you know, it's been a privilege and an honor to serve as treasurer the last 2 years. I've learned a lot. And I just said, you know, something that I learned is that my CPA license mattered a lot less than my knowledge of campaign finance law. The knowledge of campaign finance law and the rules are everything.
Yep.
And you need to know the campaign treasurer's handbook
Mm-hmm.
very well. And then also the RPOF rules of procedure and, you know, the party specific stuff as well. And I told him, I said, you know, under the current leadership, if it continues, like, be ready to push back. And when you push back, be ready to be circumvented, because when someone doesn't get the answer they like, they try to go around you.
Yep.
And, you know, it is how it is. And it's a shame because, again, that institutional knowledge and just the knowledge of something that, you know, may not be in somebody else's wheelhouse. It's like, how can you not, you know,
and you need to have the willingness to look at the people who have been doing it and ask questions and see how you can improve on the process, instead of just shutting them out completely and acting like, you know, that they don't exist and they never brought anything to the table.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just I think all of us have done like crash courses on trying to figure out how to do all of these things, but it helps when you are working with people who want to hear what you have to say and be like, I 100%. Might not be an expert, but I've walked a little bit further down the road and I can at least give you this information. And if they don't want to listen,
I've run my own campaign.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's incredibly frustrating when you offer people your advice or your like strategy or these thoughts and then they don't do it. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that.
I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But it's like when you are like, I know, you know, like when you know that somebody doesn't have experience, and then it's like, you're like, I've done this before. I know what this, you know, I know what the results are once you do this. Mm-hmm. It gets very frustrating. Yeah. And so when you're somebody, you know, like me that started off yelling at her TV in 2020 and seeing like, how can I get involved and how can I do this? It was joining the REC, becoming a member, finding out what the rules are. Then it was like working for a candidate, knocking doors, canvassing. It was being a treasurer on a campaign, learning those steps, those processes, that handbook, you know, reading the RPOF rules that govern us. You know, it's like understanding that there's more to it. You know, like I got involved. I became a regional director, and now I'm going to be running for vice chair of the REC in December. Woo! Thank you. And it's like, I think I've paid my dues.
You're resigning from the regional director?
I will be resigning as well, I'm up for re-election in December for regional director as well, and I'm just not going to seek re-election. So I want to take everything that I've learned and put it into that vice chair position and help with the operations and the ground game locally in Palm Beach County. And one of the main things that I have is learning from our primary process of running a candidate through a very crazy primary against a not ideal Republican opponent that wasn't willing to follow the rules and play nice, is that we need strong leadership on that dais to help rein in the chaos and the nonsense and set kind of guidance of being like, and hold those candidates accountable that aren't following the rules, that aren't being nice. You know, I think, you know, Reagan was like, never talk bad about another Republican. And that's what we need to do as a party. Let the voters decide, but we need to keep it clean. And somebody from the party needs to be able to hold those candidates accountable. And that's what I saw this primary that did not happen. And so
But how do you do that? I'm just like, I'm legitimately asking, like, how do you hold the candidates accountable?
Well, it's a conversation. It's like, you know, it hurts the party if you're slashing against a candidate.
Yeah.
And whether it's true or not, that's not, you know, like, that's part of it. But it's like, the fact is that we have to. It's a conversation. It's saying, you know, we don't want to represent the party this way because it hurts us in November.
And there's a way. This is my view. I don't know enough about like if this is able, and we got to wrap up soon, able to do with the rules, but as a party, those Republican candidates get a huge platform. They get to give their minute speech, they get to go to all the clubs, they get to go to all of, they're invited to everything Republican, official Republican stuff. So I would like to see an agreement signed or put like in writing by the candidate saying, if you want your minute, you want the support of the party, funding, anything like this, then you have to sign an agreement that you're not going to do X, Y, Z. Rules of conduct. And you don't have to sign it. You can you can be a candidate. We're not going to,
but we're not going to give you
any platform. You do not get to come in.
You don't get money.
You don't get money. You don't get to cut your minute speech at the REC events. The clubs are not going to be inviting you to things. And that is how this works.
You know, the candidates were not allowed to speak at any of our meetings this year.
Really?
I don't think the candidates spoke at any of our meetings this year.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man.
I have a great idea to be able to handle this in the primary, so you'll have to stay tuned to be able to get that information.
Once you're elected to vice chair?
Once I'm elected to vice chair.
Have you guys set your election date yet?
December 12th, I believe it is.
Also, so just
my
a
mom
quick
and nephew's
note,
birthday.
before we wrap up, our next episode will be November 7th.
Next Thursday night.
Next Thursday.
Post-election wrap-up.
Woohoo!
It could be the best of times. It
It
could be the worst of times.
Or it could be just unknowns of times.
It's December 11th. I misspoke. December 11th.
So our next episode, we will be here November 7th. Mark your calendars, and we'll give all the tea.
All the tea.
Well, I mean,
Maybe we'll know president by then.
Maybe. I
Maybe.
doubt it.
We can only hope and pray.
We can only hope and pray. But we'll know the locals.
The locals, which is
And-
what
we focus
do.
on. And then also then the 21st. So our next episodes are Thursday the 7th and Thursday the 21st.
back on the regular schedule.
Back on
next
our
month.
regular schedule. So please mark
Awesome.
your calendars. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, please let us know. Jessica.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Any final
I think I've
thoughts,
spoke
Abby?
my piece tonight.
Happy Halloween. Everyone stay safe out there. Thanks, Nick, for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks for letting me chime in as well.
Yeah.
Keep doing that Trump
Absolutely.
impersonation.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I think it's probably like a
It's
5 or
getting
6
better.
out of
It's
10.
good. It's
but
Getting
good.
there.
It's
I was telling
definitely good.
I was telling Josie earlier. I'll keep it short here, but I was telling Josie earlier. I gotta get the quiet part when he talks slowly. I can do the loud, boisterous, but then you gotta go quiet. And then
Do the weave.
do the weave. I go back here, but I always bring it back in. Yeah.
Maybe
Billions
we'll have you
and
as a guest
billions of
once you're
dollars.
elected president, Mr. Trump.
I love We the Locals.
Clip it.
Clip it. Said it here tonight. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook, all at We the Locals. Check out our website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. If you want to sponsor us, be sure to email us at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. Have a great night, everybody, and stay local.
And go vote.
Go vote.
Go vote. Vote, vote, vote.